A massive dip in the jet stream sends the polar vortex all the way down into the Gulf Coast later on today into tomorrow with the coldest temperatures of the season, and numerous record low temperatures will be broken. You can actually see a piece of this Arctic air mass. In fact, this morning, Oklahoma, the entire state was actually below freezing. And many of you saw a freeze there in portions of Texas, but now that polar vortex has shifted eastbound. We had all the lake effect induced snowfall last night in and around Illinois, Indiana. Some of those areas got over a foot of snow. Now that energy is pushing further south, still ringing out some snow in Kentucky and Tennessee later on this afternoon. And there's the colder temperatures. And a lot of you guys, you've already reached your high of the day. That was actually at midnight. And those temperatures go nowhere today in Tennessee and much of Mississippi and Georgia. In fact, all the cold gets all the way into Florida as we get into tonight, going into tomorrow. So here's some of your snowfall over the last couple of days. We had this system that we talked about that originated in northern Canada. That's where the source of this air mass came from. And as it shifted southbound, it started to have a little bit of lift associated with it and rang out some snow showers along this boundary. And then it really picked up steam as the low swung around on the backside, which enhanced the lake effect, which a lot of you guys saw. If you live in and around the lake, you definitely saw some hefty totals and some impressive totals. I saw some 12, even some 18-inch reports in some of these areas and some of the isolated spots. But nonetheless, yeah, some of those areas were 2 to 3 inch per hour snowfall rates, especially just along the lake regions. And we'll be getting a little bit more today on the backside of this event as it continues to shift down to the southeast, and it's going to run into that colder air. So there is your freeze watches and warnings in place. Yeah, fairly rare for this time of year to see it all the way down into the Gulf Coast. In fact, you normally get your hard freeze about the last day of November. So this is about 3 weeks early, folks. And we're talking a hard freeze all the way down into Florida. You'll be seeing a freeze, even a cold weather advisory extending into central and even portions of southern Florida, to just give you an idea of this air mass. But there's where the snow will fly today, is that low pressure center will be trying to wind down. I think it sends another piece of lake effect snow across Lake Michigan, and then most of that will be over Indianapolis, essentially Louisville, getting into Kentucky, and then once it mixes up into the Smoky Mountains, that's where you can see some blizzard-like conditions of another 12 to 18 inches in some of those higher elevations as this really starts getting cranked up later today, and then shifting southbound with that colder air mass. And here's where the snow and what we got for the next 24 to 48 hours. And yes, some of these isolated areas will pick up some impressive totals, and and then other areas will leave, get an inch or two back into Tennessee, areas of Kentucky, Indiana, areas back into Ohio. But of course, higher elevations will see higher lake effect snow across this region into Pennsylvania. Some 8 to 12 inch totals, definitely not out of the question. This is usually the type of time of year where you would get some of that lake effect enhanced snowfall, because of all the warmer lakes are sitting in the 50-degree range. And then you throw in some Arctic air on the top of it, and then the wind direction, that's what spells those lake effect snow totals, and are pretty impressive. So here's the overall temperatures this morning, and we've already seen some record-breaking temperatures, even tying record lows across the deep south, getting into a good part of the southern plains, into areas of the southeast. And this is only what things to come as we see more record cold highs. Like I mentioned, some of these areas have already seen their high temperature today, which was actually at midnight, as the falling temperatures continue to fall. Yeah, this is not a misprint, folks. We're talking highs in the 40s, folks. And Mississippi, Alabama, and to Georgia, highs in the 50s today for the Florida Panhandle. I don't need to tell you, that is definitely some cold stuff. Low 30s up there in Indiana with some snow. Yeah, that's a chilly, raw day for the second week of November. And then it only gets cold tonight. So as the skies clear and as the sun goes down, those temperatures are really going to bottom out. Right now, the National Weather Service is calling for 42 new record lows. That is breaking the record daily lows, not just tying or getting close. So yeah, we're going to be seeing this area just light up with some even 100-year-old records being broken, especially there into Florida. I mean, notice, I think Tampa gets down to like 34 degrees. That's just crazy stuff for this time of year. And if we zoom into the southeast, you can see what we're talking about. We've got 20s and low 20s, going into southern portions of Alabama, into Georgia, 20s in the Florida Panhandle, 31 there in the southern portions of Louisiana. So that is definitely some cold stuff. Even along the coastline, that's 28, 29 degrees. We're talking along the coast into the Carolinas. This is definitely a cold air mass for the second week of November, and it'll still have one little last hurrah heading into Wednesday morning with another shot very cold temperatures down into the southeast, as most of the attention will be starting to turn out west. That's where basically the ridge of high pressure has been, and those temperature anomalies are really going to soar as this starts to retreat as we head into Thursday. This warmer dome of air is going to move back into the central U.S. while we're watching an area of disturbed weather coming off in the Pacific. Another kind of atmospheric type river setup will bringing another wave of energy off the Pacific and into the coastline of California as we head into Wednesday and especially there into Thursday. So I think it originates essentially in Northern California. And then as we swing into Wednesday night, heading into that Thursday time frame, it'll get into central and this time Southern California with some heavy rain and even some flash flooding concerns will start to unfold across that region, because we're looking at some of this preliminary data, and you're looking at, for this time of year, 3, 4, almost up to 500%, what you would typically see this time of year. So yes, you could be getting some heavy rain across this region, especially as we wind up during the day on Thursday in central and southern California. We're talking Santa Barbara, those areas into Los Angeles could get some heavier rains with some flash flooding concerns. And then that pushes inland. I think that's when some of the mountain snows start to come back as well. But the middle part of the country will actually continue to remain under the dry side, and that's when the ridge will likely come back as well. So yeah, this morning or this afternoon, we got temperatures in the 40s, right? For high temperatures, this is Thursday. So look how quickly the atmosphere rebounds in a big way. Now we're talking back to the middle 70s, if not upper 70s for the southeast. We're pushing 80 degrees there for a good part of Texas, 82 for Dallas, at 85 in Abilene, for example. That would actually be a new record high if it actually happens, 85 on, November the 13th. So yeah, that gives you an idea with those temperatures surging into the 60s, really all the way back up into Montana. So it's a rapid turnaround in a big way as soon as that polar vortex gets out of there. That replaced with a heat, a ridge of high pressure, and those temperatures are going to soar once we get the south wind starting to kick in, and the winds are going to be cranking up off the west coast as well. So this will likely start to get going on Wednesday and Thursday, heading into Friday of this week with some higher winds as this disturbance will be moving on shore. And as it does, it will likely bring some of those heavier rains. So this is your rainfall totals between now and Saturday. So this is your work week ahead. So what we've got is a lot of dry air on the backside of that Arctic high pressure. Mostly Arctic air is the driest air you can have. So not out of the question that we have bone dry conditions over the middle part of the country. It's just right where the upper level low is. That's where it's just squeezing out any precipitation it can. And most of that is in the form of some snow. And there's the rain that will start to unfold on Wednesday and Thursday heading into Friday. Like I mentioned, we could looking at some multi-inch totals over a good part of the West Coast, especially there in northern and central and southern California. So be looking out for that, as the main event will likely be unfolding on Wednesday night, heading into that Thursday time frame across that region. And then as that low pressure center will continue to move inland, it will kick out the ridge. It'll start to break down that ridge, because most of the central U.S. hasn't seen a drop of rain for the entire first half of November. But I do feel that's going to change as we head into the weekend, because finally we'll see a dip in the jet stream. And as the ridge starts to break down, then we'll have a cutoff low likely will form across New Mexico. That will cause the upper level lift that needs, as will be return of Gulf moisture. That combination will spell showers and thunderstorms, and some of them could be on the strong to severe side, because we'll likely have a lot of Gulf moisture to be able to work with. We've got the lift mechanism out west, and then we'll just have to see exactly how fast the cutoff low will go across the region. Of course, if it's a slower setup, you're talking more rain, more instability. If it's a faster setup, more progressive, then you have lesser rain amounts as the speed of this track. But right now, it's like I said, it's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean currently at the moment. So right now you're talking on the analog feature, this is 6-7 days out. Yes, it's definitely highlighting that favorite area with the combination of what we have to work with. So do expect some showers and thunderstorms. It looks like maybe the heaviest rain, at least at the moment, could be on Saturday night into the evening time frame across a good part of Texas and Oklahoma, and that would likely extend into portions of Kansas as well. And then as this continues during the day, maybe on Sunday, heading into Monday, that will likely be into the southeast. So we're not talking cool temperatures anymore. Now we're 30 degrees warmer. So that brings storms back and possibly severe weather back. But here's the low pressure. We'll be watching this setup as we head into the weekend time frame. On that 7-day outlook span, there's the cutoff low will likely form and bring a good rain chance for a good part of Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. That will likely be on Saturday, especially into Saturday night going into Sunday. And this moves out into the southeast as we head into Sunday night and heading into that Monday time frame. So guys, I appreciate you watching. Do like this video. Definitely hit the subscribe button and catch the next update where I protect you before and after the storm.